Fernando Alonso had an amazing start to the racing season and became one of the most exciting drivers on the racing track in 2023. But that comes with some problems for his team. Alonso's work deal with Aston Martin will end this year, and he won't have a job. And even though everyone thinks he'll sign a new deal with the team from England, it might not be for a very long time. The newest team joining the races, Audi, will probably try to get Alonso to join them starting in 2026, and by then, he'll be 45 years old. So will we see this two-time champion race when he's that old? The big story of 2023 is Alonso and how amazing he's been racing with Aston Martin. The Spanish driver got on the winner's podium at 5 out of 7 races in 2023. So it's clear that he made his teammate Lance Stroll look bad because the owner's son just can't keep up with his teammate since he doesn't have the same speed and skills. But what's also really hard to understand is why Alonso would give up what he has right now, a team that's probably the closest chance he'll have to win a championship for a team that hasn't proven they can be good right away. Well, that seems to be the biggest and most talked about topic in Formula One racing because Alonso has been contacted by Audi. And all these talks got started because Aston Martin said they haven't talked to the two-time world champion about making his contract longer. And that's not what they're thinking about right now. With the perfect situation for the England-based team looking good right now, there could be big problems with how much their fans love Nando and how badly Stroll performs, which could strangely end up with Alonso leaving the team. Let's start with what Mike Crack said about Alonso's contract. The team boss was full of nice things to say about how valuable and good Alonso is for his team, but he didn't want to say whether or not the two-time world champion will keep working with the team even after this year. Even after Alonso almost got his 33rd win in Monaco by being just 1/10 of a second behind the fastest qualifier, and the decision to use wet tires ruined his race at the end, it's not clear that Crack believes Alonso will stay with the team for a long time, which makes people talk even more about what will happen to him. When talking about this topic, the Aston Martin team boss said it's very hard to say because racing is so competitive and depends on how fast other drivers are and how well you do yourself. So he thinks it would be dangerous to say that they will win a particular race or that they will be close to winning. But when someone pointed out that Alonso wants to keep working with Aston Martin after 2026, when Honda, who Nando doesn't like very much, will come back as their engine maker, Crack's answer was a bit strange, because he said it's good to hear that he said he wants to be there for several years, and they would be happy with that. He thinks the main thing, and one of Alonso's great qualities, is how much he wants to be in first place and how motivated he is. They didn't think much about the future, to be honest. They took it race by race and tried to do well every race. It's good to hear that, but they don't think too much about it yet. Let's make it happen now. Everyone thought that if there was a problem between Aston Martin and Alonso working together in the future, it would be because Alonso doesn't get along with Honda. We can't forget how Honda and McLaren's partnership ended badly in 2017, when Alonso said Honda's engine was like a GP2 engine, which is much slower than Formula One. Even though the bad feelings went away from both sides, and the Spanish driver is willing to work with what Honda currently gives to Red Bull, this might not be the real problem after all. And whenever you see an unhappy driver in Formula One right now, it's normal to think about Audi. After all, this is the team that joins the sport in 2026 and is looking for drivers to be competitive right away, something that Aston Martin was able to do with Alonso once they figured out how to design and build their car. So for their first years in the sport, Alonso would be the perfect person to sign if the two-time world champion isn't already promised to Aston Martin or isn't planning to stop racing. But knowing how good he is as a driver and knowing how competitive he can be once he gets the right car, I doubt that Alonso would think about stopping racing at age 45. Not many teams would want to spend money on Alonso at this age. But for Audi, it's very important to have a driver who would give them good advice about the car and set up the right foundation for the team's future, something that could help young drivers like Mick Schumacher take the team back to its great days later on. So what does Audi have to say about this whole situation? Obviously, the team is very interested in getting Alonso to work for them, and this is something they've said publicly in recent days. When talking about this topic, Alessandro Lunabrava, who represents Alfa Romeo, said he's very interested in getting the two-time world champion starting in 2026, with Sainz also being a big name that Audi people talk about. Furthermore, Lunabrava said, "I would always sign Fernando even at 45 years or older. I got to know him well at McLaren when I was the manager of Stoffel van Dorn, who was his teammate. I was able to see up close the work he can do every day as a driver, his ability and his great determination. He's a champion. You don't win to Formula One titles if you don't have certain special qualities. It would be a pleasure for me to see him at Audi. We're happy with our current two drivers, and our goal is to give them competitive cars. Obviously, Sainz is one of the best drivers currently in Formula One. He drives for Ferrari, and I think he's happy at Ferrari. We have to think about our drivers and give them all the tools to do a good job." Now, another thing we can't forget is that Alonso was part of McLaren and worked with Andreas Seidel, and even though it was a difficult time for the Spanish driver, he's keeping his relationship with the now CEO of the team very good. McLaren also lost James Key to Audi, so with all the old crew getting together at the newest team joining the sport, we could very well see Nando start a new adventure, one that might be more controversial and full of challenges compared to Aston Martin. Everyone laughed at Alonso when he suddenly switched from Alpine to Aston Martin. But when the 2023 season started, we saw the immediate good effect that the England-based team had on the current racing, and how good of a match Alonso was for them. But it was a bit strange to see him be so nice to Lance Stroll, even though the reason is clearly to keep his seat at Aston Martin for at least a couple more years, until a new opportunity opens up, one that might be more competitive than Aston Martin to win the championship with. Alonso has been racing for quite some time, and he's one of the few drivers who was able to come back from stopping racing and still have great success after his break. And with all of his recent statements, it's clear that Alonso won't give up on trying to win his third championship, while everyone else would be willing to give up at this point and just accept that enough is enough. When talking about his future in Formula One, Alonso said what everyone else believes when he added, "I don't know how long I will keep going. I will never stop racing in motorsports, but from Formula One, will stop when it stops making me happy." Right now, it's the opposite. Audi is now on a big mission, one that's looking for experts from all around the Formula One world. And while they failed to get Masha Binotto after showing him their factory in Newburgh, the search for experts continues. And it's not just for the kind of experts who work behind the scenes in the garages, it's for the driver lineup as well. And from what we've been able to understand, Audi doesn't want to deal with rookies or new drivers because of the tough competition out there. They would rather sign a 45-year-old driver than spend money on a rookie who would struggle to put the team where they want to be in the first couple of years fighting for a championship. So will Alonso start this journey later in his career? Only time will tell.